I want to talk about Andrew Tate, who was detained, arrested in Romania as part of a human trafficking and rape investigation. And, you know, he hasn't been tried, so I'm not going to convict him or anything. What happened was, you've probably heard, he was on an online argument with Greta Thunberg. Was that his name? Greta, I always forget her name. And then he was subsequently arrested. There was a rumor going around that it was because he had a pizza box that the police identified, but that wasn't true. But I have to say that I did sort of I feel that climate panic, climate emergency, the existential climate threat is a complete nonsense. So I have no sympathy for Greta, but I think she won that exchange. If after an exchange with Greta Thunberg, you get arrested for rape and human trafficking, you probably lost the argument. But I also noticed online there was a lot of silly, conspiracy talk that he had been arrested to silence him and because he was just too dangerous and all this stuff. I seriously doubt that. I'm not saying he's guilty, but I seriously doubt that. When I first saw this story, I did not remember that I knew who he was. I had actually watched some of his videos. Someone had shown me some of his videos, and it's really his videos that I want to talk about. The guy's a former kickboxer. He was thrown off a British TV show after a video showed up of him attacking a woman. He is thrown off Twitter, I think it was, for saying that women had to take responsibility for being sexually assaulted. He is frequently on shows where he makes fun of women and attacks feminists, and then they'll be put up and saying, here's Andrew Tate just destroying, you know how it is on YouTube, he's destroying a feminist. So here's an example of him destroying a feminist who says something like women don't need men or something like this.
Women don't feel like they need men in a physical sense because life is soft, but it's bullshit. And it's bullshit because you still need men by proxy, one. And two, the second life gets difficult, you very quickly learn how much you need men. But women will go, I'm an independent, I don't need no man because I have an OnlyFans and men pay my OnlyFans. And if anyone comes up to me, I'll call a male police officer. I don't need men. Shut up, you fucking idiot. Of course you do. You just named your whole life is based on men. The road you're driving on was paved by a man. The house you're living in was built by a man. The car you're driving was designed by a man. Your whole life depends on men. And the second anything bad were to happen to you, the second you were physically threatened, or times were to get hard, or war were to start, or famine, or riots, the first thing you do is find a big strong man, shit yourself, and throw the feminism out the window.
Okay, now I want to address this because I've heard a lot of this. Feminism has been a part of my life since the 1980s. I've ignored it my whole life, to be honest with you. I just don't believe in it, so I don't live as if it were true because it's not true. And it has ruined women's lives. It's not that I don't want women to have any choice they can make, any reasonable choice they can make. It's just that I don't think the choices the feminists offer them are right. I think they make them unhappy. But it's none of my business. You want to make yourself unhappy, I'm not here to control you. And I've made jokes about the necessity of men and the fact that men have invented everything and all of those things as an answer to feminists who, of course, say stupid stuff because the philosophy is a stupid philosophy. The problem with stuff like this to me is it's frightened and it's small and it is reactionary. And when I say that, it is a reaction to feminism. It is not its own philosophy standing firm against feminism, letting feminism wash over it. I mean, back in the 80s, women would yell at you for opening doors for them in New York City where I was living, and I would just keep opening doors for them. And if they would yell, I would say, anything you like, madam, and I would just walk on. But I would still live my life as a gentleman, all right? He is not being a gentleman. He is being a grotesque. And if he's doing that in reaction to feminism, and I would say in fear of feminism. He is afraid that if he's not belligerent, if he's not unkind, if he's not disrespectful to women in general, that he will seem weak because these feminists will be beating up on him. And that's, to me, allowing feminism to define you. And when you react to something rather than living out your own code, I try to live out my own code. Do I fail sometimes? Yeah. Do I, but I try very hard to live out my code of ethics and my code of behavior and be an example of that to myself. I try to represent that to myself. When you let other people, when you react to people and define yourself in opposition to them, you are a slave to them. He's not being free of feminism. He's not fighting feminism. He's become a slave to feminism because it defines how he reacts. His anger, everybody who has shown me these videos, and several men have shown them to me, is afraid of feminists and afraid of women, basically. And now, I know that I grew up before feminism, and a lot of people who grew up during feminism, a lot of guys who grew up during feminism are very angry about it and very eager to show that it's not true because they grew up in a world in which to say it wasn't true was not allowed. I did not grow up in that world, so I don't feel that way. And I understand that. It's one of the things that feminism has accomplished. It has accomplished making men hate women so that women then feel abused by men. There have always been abusive men, but now even nice men want to abuse women because they identify feminists with women. But I always say to them, what about the women in your life? What about your mom? What about your sister? What about your girlfriend? Are they giving you this stuff? Are they saying these things to you? Are they saying that women don't need men? Are they saying men are toxic? Because if they are, you shouldn't be associating with them. You should still associate with your mom. But other than that, you shouldn't be associating with them. You should be finding women who don't behave like that, which is most women. Most women are not like that at all. And this is the thing I get about these guys. This is my reaction to a lot of these guys who are the guys, I know there's a movement for it, Men Without Women, I can't remember what it's called, I think it's called Men Without Women, where they sit around and say, I don't need a partner, and maybe I have a girl in my life, but she's not important to me. And my feeling about that is, you're not actually establishing your independence and your strength and your manhood. You're actually chaining yourself to feminism and kind of limping along behind it, swaggering and acting tough. In my world, in my code of ethics, in the code that I live by, a real man does not speak to women the way that guy just spoke to those women, even if he's angry at them. Now, listen, sometimes you're attacked, you have to fight back, but this guy puts himself in that position, and a real man doesn't actually spew those kinds of obscenities when he's around women. A real man doesn't make fun of women for their needs. He should honor those needs because women bring something to the table that he can't bring, which is womanhood, which is femininity. And when women turn to you and say, I need your help or I need your protection, you should be honored at some level to deliver it, not dismissive and not derogatory about it. You need a man. We need each other. This is part of the world. And I think that I blame feminists for this, but I blame feminists for creating men like this. But the kind of men they have created is Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is a creation of feminism. He is not an opposition to feminism. You follow guys like that, you're not being free of feminism, you're not defeating feminism, you're not destroying feminism, as they say on YouTube. You are becoming it. You are becoming its product. You are what it has made you to be. I understand, we were talking earlier in the show about reactions, feminist reactions to White Lotus saying, this is toxic, it's toxic masculinity, which is a disgusting phrase, by the way. I mean, masculinity is never toxic. True masculinity is never toxic, as true femininity is never, degraded. I mean, that's the truth. That is what we are looking for, is masculinity and in our men and femininity in our women. But it is something you achieve. It is something you walk uphill to get to, not downhill. And so I just feel like reactions to this, like the reaction of intolerance to racial activists or to gay activists, like reacting to those things with intolerance and cruelty and brutality and unkindness. It's one thing to react to the activist that way, but to react to the person that the activist pretends to represent, namely women or gays or whatever, or even liberals, I think is making a big mistake. It's not only ruining your life, it's like the old joke about taking poison and waiting for your enemies to die. It's not just doing that, it's enslaving yourself to them. If you react to something, you are secondary. First, they have to be there in order for you to be there. I don't believe in that. I want to be a creator. I want to create the life that I live. I want to create the code I live by. And if feminists come along and tell me that I'm toxic or I'm bad or I'm evil, I'm just going to keep walking that road. I'm going to keep walking the road of that code because I know that code is right because I've thought it through. And that's what I think about Andrew Tate. I'm not saying he's guilty or not guilty. I certainly... I certainly don't think it's a conspiracy to silence him. He's not that important that he needs to be silenced. Gee, that was so great. Why don't you like and subscribe? And while you're at it, subscribe to The Andrew Klavan Show on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. It really helps. We appreciate it.